I welcome class 9 students to this chemistry chapter. Class 9 chemistry chapter name is water. Students, we will discuss water in detail. Water as a universal solvent. We will also discuss about the solution, the hydrated and anhydrous substances, and properties of drying and dehydrating agent. We will also see soft water and hard water. So students, let us go to the chapter. Formula of water is H2O. We all know about it, and chemical name is dihydrogen oxide. Dihydrogen means there are two hydrogen. Now molecular mass of hydrogen is 1 and there are two hydrogen, so this is 1 into 2. Molecular mass of oxygen is 16, so it comes to 18. So molecular mass of water is 18 AMU, and you can see there are covalent bond, one bond here, one bond here. Water is the most important natural resource. More than 70% of Earth's area is occupied with water, mostly saline and sea water, not potable. Hardly 2.5% of this water is fresh water, that is potable, and this is included in frozen polar caps and glacier. Water exists in all three physical states, like solid, liquid or gas. Water occurs in combined state, and water also occurs in free state. You can see this is diagram of water cycle. Now water is a major constituent of all living beings like humans or plants or mammal. Nearly 70% of our body weight is due to water. Water occurs in free state as well as combined state, and water has an unique capacity to dissolve wide range of solutes, so it is called universal solvent. The ability of water to form solution is responsible for all life processes that is required for sustenance of life on the earth. At the same time, human activities as well as natural activities are main causes for water pollution. Water is purified for drinking purpose by removing suspended impurity by filtration or dissolved impurity by distillation, and we also disinfect water so that we can use the water. Now let us see physical properties of water. Pure water is colorless, odorless and tasteless. The taste in water is due to the gases and salts present in the water. If you remove the salts or gases, the taste of water will be flat. Normally, water boils at 100 degrees C. Normally means at 760 millimeter of mercury pressure. The boiling point of water is affected by pressure, because boiling point of a liquid is considered at the temperature when vapor pressure equals the atmospheric pressure. Hence, if you increase the pressure, its boiling point will also increase, and if you decrease the pressure, its boiling point will also decrease. Now, this principle, pressure cooker works. In hilly region, water boils at much lower temperature, so it is very difficult to cook there. On the top of Mount Everest, water boils at 70 degrees C, so it will virtually take 1.5 times more duration to cook the same food which will be cooked in hilly region compared to the plain region. The boiling point of water also increases due to the presence of dissolved impurity in it. Similarly, pure water freezes at 0 degree C under normal condition and pressure. The freezing point of water decreases with increase in pressure. The freezing point of water also decreases due to the presence of dissolved impurity. At 4 degree C, water has the maximum density, that is 1 gram per cubic centimeter or 1000 kilogram per cubic meter, and minimum volume. Water expands on freezing, that means 92 volume of water become 100 volume of ice. Therefore, with relative density of ice being 0.92, ice floats on water. Water has an unusual physical property. Unlike other substances, when cooled water, it first contracts in volume, so as the other liquids. But below 4 degrees C, suddenly it starts to expand and continues to do so till the temperature reaches 0 degree C. This property of anomalous expansion of water enables the marine life to exist in colder region of the world, because at that time when water freezes on the surface or top of the water body, water remains in liquid state and at a good temperature below the ice layer. Now, since ice is lighter than water, it floats on the top of the surface. Above the ice, air temperature is below 0 degree C. Ice is at 0 degree C, but below the ice, the temperature is not at 0 degree C. Students, let us see next point, latent heat of fusion of ice. The latent heat of fusion is the amount of heat required to change a substance from solid state to liquid state at its melting point at the same temperature. It means without any change in temperature. The amount of heat energy required by an ice to change into water is called latent heat of fusion of ice. Its specific value is 336 joule per gram or 80 calorie per gram. The same amount of heat is released when 1 gram of water is freezes to form 1 gram of ice at 0 degree C, and due to high specific latent heat of solidification, these oceans and rivers do not freeze very quickly. Similarly, students, let us see next point, that is latent heat of vaporization of water. When water is boiled, it changes to gaseous state. The energy required to change water into its vapor form at boiling point at the same temperature is called latent heat of vaporization of water, and its specific value is 2268 joule per gram or 540 calorie per gram. This is the reason why oceans or rivers do not easily boil. Now, it is the sudden release of latent heat of condensation that causes torrential rain. Next point is specific heat capacity. It has been found that 1 gram of water when heated through 1 degree C always absorb 4.2 joule or 1 calorie of heat energy. The fixed amount of heat absorbed by 1 gram of water when heated through 1 degree C is called its specific heat capacity. Water has unusually very high specific heat capacity, so it can absorb much heat and it can also give you much heat, so it is used as a coolant in motor vehicle radiators. Now, due to high specific heat capacity, the presence of a large amount of water is able to affect or modify the climate of nearby land or plain area. Means those areas which are lying very close to the large water body are not very hot during summer season and they are not very cold during winter season. Land and sea breezes also takes place because of this moderating property of water. As we know, water is a very good universal solvent. It can dissolve many substances. Water can dissolve not only solid, but it can also dissolve liquid and gases. Why? Because water has a high dielectric constant. As a result of this, it reduces the electrostatic force of attraction between positive and negative charge and ultimately dissolves inorganic compound. Now, as we know, inorganic compounds are ionic or electrovalent in nature, but they are soluble in water because water has very high dielectric value. Substances that are apparently insoluble in water, actually they are soluble in very less amount, that is traces. Even we put water in a glass vessel, extremely small amount of glass dissolve in it. This is for that reason when distilled water is kept in a sealed bottle for very long time, it leaves etching on the inside surface of the glass. Now students, as we have seen that normal tap water contains gas and some salts, let us see one experiment activity to prove that. Put some tap water on clean watch glass and place it over a beaker containing water as this is shown in this figure. Boil the water in beaker, and when all the water has evaporated from the watch glass, remove it from the burner and let it cool. After cooling, you can see this type of rings on the watch glass. This proves that water contains some solid salts, as we have evaporated the water, but salt we have not evaporated. Tap water, river water, well water, they all contain solid and gases, but rainwater and distilled water do not contain any gas or solid impurity. So, if you perform these experiments with rainwater or distilled water, you will not get circular rings. Now, what is the benefit of dissolved salts in water? It provides nutrition for our growth, and it also provides taste as we drink tasty water. Let us see another point, the components of water that we have seen. Water contains some dissolved gases. So in order to perform this, let us see this experiment. Now, round bottom flask is completely filled. This is round bottom flask is completely filled with tap water, and arrange the apparatus which is shown in the figure. A graduated tube or burette filled completely with water is inverted over the end of the reliable tube in a rough of water and slowly start to heat this arrangement. After some time, you will see that gas bubbles are escaping from the water and they are gradually connected here. The gas is collected here. Now, why we are getting gases here? All the arrangement is sealed. The gas is coming from the water, and as we are heating the water, the gas is escaping the water level. The volume of air collected in the graduated tube shows the volume of dissolved gases in water, and this power of dissolving or solubility refers and differs at various temperature. The solubility of a gas is often expressed by the volume of gas that is dissolved in a certain volume of solvent. For example, the solubility of hydrogen in water is expressed at 0.02 volume of hydrogen per unit volume of water at 0 degree C, or 506 volume of hydrogen chloride per unit volume of water at 0 degree C. The gas dissolved in water can easily be expelled by boiling the water. Distilled water and boiled water have no taste. The pleasant taste of drinking or potable water is due to the presence of gases or the dissolved salt. Now, what is the importance of these material present in the water? Marine life like fish and plant uses oxygen that is dissolved in the water. Aquatic plant also uses dissolved carbon dioxide which is found in water, and carbon dioxide dissolved in water react with limestone to form calcium bicarbonate, and marine organisms such as snails and oyster extract calcium carbonate from this calcium bicarbonate to build their shells. We will continue our discussion with class 9 chemistry chapter water, and as we have seen some basic and starting points of this chemistry chapter, we have seen physical properties of water. Let us continue this discussion with title solution. Students, please pay attention to the mouse cursor. What is the definition of a solution? A solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more components whose composition may be gradually changed by changing relative amounts of the components. What are components? The components of a solution are solute and solvent. The medium of dissolution that allows one or more components to dissolve in it to form a solution is called solvent, and the substance that gets dissolved into the solvent to form a solution is called solute. So, we can say generally in a solution the solvent is present in a greater amount and the solute is present in lesser amount. A solution which is made up of only two types of components is a binary solution. Solutions which are made up of 3 or 4 components are called ternary or quaternary solution respectively. In this chapter and in this class, we will focus our attention only to the binary solution. It means one solvent and one solute. When salt crystals are dissolved in water to form a slime water solution, the salt which is present in lesser amount is called solute, and water which is present in larger extent is called solvent, and saline water is nothing but solution. If the component exists in this different physical form, they are called phases, and phase means state. For example, if sugar is dissolved in water, now the final solution is a liquid solution. So, water is solvent and solid sugar was solute. If two substances are in same phase, that is same state, then the component that is excess in volume is called the solvent. Now, a solution may be formed by mixing a liquid with another liquid, by mixing a solid with another liquid, by mixing a liquid and a gas, and by mixing solid with another solid. Now, different type of solutions are formed. Let us see the definition of homogeneous solution. A homogeneous solution of a solid into another solid is called a solid solution. Example is alloys. Common metal alloys are solid solution. The gold used in making jewelry is a solid solution containing gold and a little amount of copper and silver. Brass is a solid solution containing 70% of copper and 30% of zinc. So, copper is a solvent. because that is present in 70% and zinc 30% is solute. A solution in which the size of a solute particle is about 10 to the power minus 10 meter in size is called a true solution. In a true solution, the solute particle and solvent particle are so much small in size that we cannot differentiate which is solute and which is solvent. We are not able to see them with microscope also. The term solution actually means true solution. So let us see some properties of a true solution. First, it is homogeneous mixture. The solute particles are very small in size, that is 10 to the power minus 10 meter. True solutions are clear and transparent, and it does not scatter light. The scattering of light is done by colloidal solution. Its component cannot be separated by filtration, hence particles do not settle down when left undisturbed for a longer duration of time. Water is most common solvent. A solution produced by dissolving a substance in water is called aqueous solution. So we can say aqueous solution is a solution in which water is the solvent. But water is not only single solvent. There are many other solvents also available: alcohol, petrol, ether, benzene, liquid ammonia, carbon disulfide. They are also solvent, and their solutions are called non-aqueous solution. When the solvent is alcohol, the solution is called tincture. Tincture iodine is a solution of iodine in alcohol. Another differentiation of solution is dilute and concentrated. Dilute solution is a solution in which solute is present in very less amount. It means solute very less amount and solvent in very larger amount. In concentrated solution, the amount of solute is relatively more for a given mass of the solvent. Let us see the definition of saturated solution. A solution that cannot dissolve any more of the solute at a given temperature is called a saturated solution. Let us see one experiment how to prepare a saturated solution. Take 100 gram of distilled water in a beaker and 1 gram of niter, that is potassium nitrate. Stir it with a glass rod, and we will see that nitrate gets dissolved. Add 1 more gram of niter, stir it, it will dissolve. Continue the process of adding 1 gram of potassium nitrate in the water and try to stir it so that successive amount get dissolved. After some time, a stage will come that water is not able to dissolve any niter. Now, that state of solution is called saturated solution. This means saturated solution contains maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved. A solution is a homogeneous mixture of solute and solvent, and its composition can be varied by changing the temperature or changing the pressure. Now let us see the effect of cooling on saturated solution. The solubility of a solid usually decreases with fall in temperature. Hence, if the temperature of saturated solution is lowered or if a solution is left open at higher temperature for a longer duration of time, a part of dissolved solute separate out in form of crystal. The remaining solution is still a saturated solution but at lower temperature. Now let us see the effect of heating a saturated solution. If a saturated solution is heated at higher temperature, then it becomes unsaturated. More solute can be dissolved in the solution. A saturated solution can be made unsaturated by adding more solvent to it. Now let us see the definition of unsaturated solution. A solution in which more of a solute can be dissolved at a given temperature is known as unsaturated solution. Third type of solution is a supersaturated solution. A solution that holds more solute than theoretically possible at a given temperature is called supersaturated solution. If we heat a saturated solution and dissolve some more solute in it, then cool it back to room temperature slowly without causing any disturbance, the resultant solution will be supersaturated in the nature. Now we have to pay attention to a few points. It is possible to bring down the temperature of saturated solution a little without the excess of a solute crystallizing out if no suspended impurity like dust particle are present. The solution is not disturbed physically, it means it is left standing still in the container. Students, we have seen the definition of a dilute solution and a concentrated solution. Let us see what is concentration mean and how it is represented. Concentration of a solution is amount of solute dissolved in a given quantity of that solution at a particular temperature. It is expressed in many ways, in terms of volume and in terms of mass. So let us see first type by mass percent. This is defined as the mass of solid solute in gram present in 100 gram of that solution. It is mostly used when solute is solid and solvent is liquid. The formula for calculation of mass percent concentration is mass of solute by mass of solution into 100. For example, if 10 gram of sodium chloride is added to 90 gram of water, so 10 gram will be mass of solute, 90 gram will be mass of solvent. Now 10 plus 90, that is 100 gram, is mass of solution. So in the numerator we will keep 10, in denominator we will keep 10 plus 90 into 100, that is 10%. Second style of representation of concentration is volume percent. It is defined as the volume of solute in millimeter present in 100 ml of a solution. Students, this volume percent style is used when both solute and solvent are liquid. Please compare the definition I am showing you. Both are same. Here we have used 100 gram, here we have used 100 ml. Formula is also same. Concentration in terms of volume percent is equal to volume of solvent, volume of solute by volume of solution into 100%. Now 30 ml of alcohol is mixed with 70 ml of water to get 100 ml. Now what will be the formula? 30 into 100% by 30 plus 70, that is